Which actually brings me to that dark side of it. And I think that was alluding a little bit to this earlier in the interview, was that there's a lot of salespeople who can really learn how to sell and persuade. And in my concept, I call them the fear pride paradox. It's like learning the process of selling without caring for the responsibility that comes with selling. And so you can see these very effective, call them those snake oil salespeople, that in the process, they know how to use every cue to manipulate. And I use that word very deliberately because manipulation means persuading without empathy, without caring about the results of this manipulation. And this, I think, would be a very useful tool, maybe not for the sellers that are listening, but maybe for anybody who's interacting, looking to buy, are there cues that we can pick up when they're quote unquote fake cues?
Yeah, so I think that there's a fine line between purposeful and manipulative. You got it right. The intention is everything. And so I think that first, just what I like to say is, if you are being purposeful with your cues, if you have a goal, a sales goal, a social goal, to bond, to connect, to set people up for success, that intention makes you purposeful. That means you are choosing and picking cues with purpose and intention. That is the only difference between purposeful and manipulation, right? It's a very small difference, but it is a difference. Manipulative, I think, is when we are trying to take advantage of people when our intention is bad. So fake cues, we have a spidey sense for fake cues as well. And the reason for this is because congruence is incredibly important. So for example, if I show up to a pitch as my warmest, most competent self, so I really like this client, I really want the work, I believe in my presentation, my product, I know a lot about my presentation, my product, I am being warm and competent, I'm showing up as my warmest, competent self. If I show up and I don't really like the client, or I don't really know my stuff, right? Like I don't know as much about my product as I should, that is going to leak out in its own cues. So they've actually found there are leak cues. The first leak cue is going mute. So you'll often notice that people will withhold or stifle. And we notice this as humans. If someone's, very animated and talking, and then all of a sudden they kind of go more demure, go more mute, even people will lower their volume. So one thing that I've noticed is if people are unsure of their numbers, so I listen to a lot of sales pitches and a lot of sales calls. I love doing it. And what happens is if someone knows their number is not true, like they know that there's a lot of wiggle room on their number, they go like this. They either drop volume or do the question inflection. So they'll say, we'd love to have your work. We'd love to work with you. And the price of our service is $5,000. And that is because your body knows this number might get you in trouble. This number is not true. And so it's harder, literally physiologically harder to get breath behind those words. Or you see people in our research, and I talk about this a lot in the book, we did a lot of lie detection research. We looked at what do liars do when they lie? What cues are they sending out? So we had people in our lab record 2 truths and a lie. They play that game. I don't know if you remember that game. Yeah. So you say 2 truths and a lie. And we paid very close attention to what people did on the lying statements. And it was fascinating. Over and over again, the same lying cues came up. The next biggest one after volume drop was question inflection. So someone would say, right, so about me, I love dogs, I'm a vegetarian, and I traveled to Europe last year. So they would go up in their question because liars are asking, do you believe me? They also know it's not true. So their body leaks out. Is this true? And so why I'm saying this is because if your intention is not good, if you're trying to cover something up, fake warmth or fake competence, there are all kind of cues that you're going to have to work really hard to stifle. And it's almost impossible to cover those lying cues. Like, for example, one of them is blink rate. Liars typically blink, their blink rate shoots up. It's impossible to control your blink rate. I mean, if you want to control your blink rate, you'd have to literally sit there, holding your eyes open. So if you can't control your blink rate and you're lying, and you'll see this when people will lie, and actually in some of the doping, when people were lying about doping in those interviews, they do these like rapid, really, really rapid blinks when they're lying. And that is because when we're lying, we know it can get us into trouble. And so we literally want to close our eyes. So I say this because yes, we can control most of our cues, but we can't control all of our cues. And when you're lying or faking it, You're lying verbally. It's very hard to also lie vocally and non-verbally. So that's why I think it's really important that you know your stuff. You love your product. You have really good intention, because that will come through.